Here's a thought for you. Could a crackdown on crime be the economic boon that America really needs? Now, think about it. Experts have also been thinking about this. There have been over 23 million criminal offenses basically committed every year, resulting in about $15 billion to $20 billion in economic losses to the victims, on top of the loss of life, and hundreds of billions of dollars in government costs. Now, the Trump administration moving to undo what critics have called harmful. That is the Obama-era, quote, soft-on-crime approach to punishing criminals, including drug dealers. Attorney General Jeff Sessions releasing a new memo to all 94 U.S. attorneys today, calling for a reversal of that lenient approach, ordering prosecutors to throw the book at criminals, demanding they slap suspects with the most serious charges and the longest sentences possible under mandatory guidelines. We've got Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association President, Detective Steve Loomis. He joins me now. Detective, good to see you, sir.
Thank you. Good to see you, too.
We've got civil rights groups like the ACLU saying this will increase civil rights violations and that it will just fail, just like the war on drugs. What do you say?
Follow the law. Very simple. Follow the law. We're a nation of laws, and the laws need to be enforced. Obviously, what's going on in this country has not, the last 8 years has not been working. So we do need to try something different, and law enforcement, I know, is all for this. We want to go out and do our jobs. We want to put bad people away. You know, victimless crimes, drug use is a victimless crime. It's nonsense. You know, every crime in this country leads back in one way, shape, or form to drug abuse, and the drug dealers are the prime leaders of that.
Yeah,
so,
you know, the whole argument about legalizing drugs, well, look at, we have legal opioids, and you see that crisis taking hold nationwide. Now, the Attorney General, to your point, Detective, is saying certain cities, St. Louis, Chicago, L.A., they've seen dramatic increases in crime, 10% spike nationwide in murders. Former Bush 41 National Drug Control Director, he's Bill Bennett. He seemed to endorse the Trump administration move earlier today. I'd like your thoughts on this, Detective. Let's take a listen.
This notion of these nonviolent drug offenses, you know what they're talking about? Talking about drug dealers. Now, you tell me if a drug dealer who sells hundreds of pounds or hundreds of ounces of an illegal drug to young people or to anybody is doing harm to the community, is doing violence to those people. The answer is yes.
Do you agree with Mr. Bennett's take?
Absolutely, absolutely. The drug users, drug-addicted people have a habit, sometimes $100, $200, $300 a day habit. They're getting that money from somewhere. They're going in and breaking into houses. They're going and robbing people, and right up the line, right up the food chain. You know, so there's no such thing as a nonviolent drug abuser. There's just not. And
the person selling the drugs too, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
The person selling the drugs is the one creating the problem, and we're creating victims. The last 8 years has done nothing but create victims. Here in the city of Cleveland, we had 139 homicides last year. We're on pace right now for 157. That's a per capita average higher than Chicago. We hear a lot about Chicago, but it's here in Cleveland as well, and it's got to stop. We got to be allowed to go out and do our job, and there has to be a ramification. There has to be a punishment associated with the crime.
Detective, former Obama Attorney General Eric Holder saying this moments ago, quote, the policy announced today, not tough on crime. It is dumb on crime. It is ideologically motivated. It will only be proven to generate unfairly long sentences and do little to achieve long-term public safety. Your reaction?
Well, you know, Eric Holder's not here, and he's not here for a reason. That's a ridiculous notion. And he is major part of the problem here. Now, we could do things like, you know, I have no problem. If you get a 10-year sentence as a drug dealer or a drug user and you get treatment and you're healthy for 5 years, I have no problem with working something like that out. I don't think anybody does. You know, we understand that drug abuse and drug addiction is a sickness, you know, that needs to be treated. I'm not saying throw them in the prison and not treat them. You know, let's get them some treatment. Let's get them some help. We can look at it from that aspect too, but you have to get them in there to start with.
Okay, Detective, we have this topic for you. They are calling it, the administration is calling it the largest sweep to date. Immigration enforcement officials arresting over 1,300, it's actually nearly 1,400 suspected gang members, the biggest sweep of its kind to date. We're talking gang members basically committing murder, drug and sex trafficking, human smuggling. Detective, why didn't the Obama administration take swift action like this?
I don't know. I can't for the life of me figure that one out. Law-abiding citizens can't figure that one out. Law enforcement officers can't figure that out. The reality is that in those sweeps, they picked up 21 homicide suspects in that. You know, I mean, that is a great 6 weeks worth of work for the ICE, for the Homeland Security, and whoever else was involved in that. And you know, again, we have laws. We're a nation of laws. All we want to see is...
What was the Obama administration doing the last 8 years?
Hugging everybody, hugging them, saying don't do it again, patting them on the back, letting people out of jail early. You know, the hug approach doesn't work. If you have a kid that takes a cookie out of a cookie jar and you don't say don't do that, the next time she goes to take the cookie out of the cookie jar, she's taken two. And that's what we've done here. Or him.
Right.
Or him. But that's what we've done here. We have empowered the criminal element out there by our lack of response as law enforcement.
And I have this story for you. An illegal immigrant, he was deported 15 times, now arrested for drunk driving and a hit-and-run crash that seriously injured a 6-year-old boy. Now, the suspect, Constantine Banda Acosta, he faces nearly 8 years in prison if convicted. Now, the father, Ben Lake, the father of that boy, he spoke to Fox about what happened to his son, Lennox Lake. He is expected to make a full recovery. Let's listen to the father here.
How did you feel about this before it really affected your family, though?
You know, I was kind of one of those things where I was kind of like indifferent. I didn't really know the impact. I didn't want to believe that there was this big of an impact, but it's real, it's there, and it's scary to know that, you know, these people are running around and can hurt people, and then it's hard to get any sort of recompensation from them. We have a systemic problem that we all need to deal with. I don't think it's Republican or Democrat. I think as Americans we just need to make sure that our country's safe for our kids and for the future generations, that we're not letting bad people stay here or keep coming back.
How did he get back in 15 times, even once? How did he get back in?
I have no idea. They can cross the border at will. This is the problem. We're allowing illegal aliens to come in here and victimize American citizens. And part of their punishment is to send them home to mom, where they have the opportunity to come right back in here, like this gentleman did, and victimize yet another, in this case, a young boy. American citizens, law-abiding citizens, I don't care what color you are, I don't care where you come from, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, they want to go home and live their lives in peace. And they can't do that right now. Now they're worried about getting hit in a drive-by in every one of our inner cities. You know, we have to restore law and order in the cities, in the suburbs, everywhere, you know, at a national level. And I think that we're on our way to doing that. And I'm very, very encouraged by what I'm seeing from the Mr. Trump and Mr. Sessions.